My 15 minutes of fame, so to speak, was the April 3rd, 74 tornado. And I was lead forecaster that evening. And I think we had 20-some tornadoes in Kentucky. At that time, we had almost the whole state to warn. And we had World War II radar. I mean, the technology from World War II. So all we saw was spots. We didn't have any, we couldn't take a slice to it or know how tall it was. It just, we had a radar, and there was nothing on the radar those days, that day, except supercells, we now call them, or use. And so it was just spots, and all you had to do is track one of those. So our radar, we had a acetate put over it, and we'd take a grease pencil and we'd circle that and put the time on it, and then 15 minutes later we'd see how far it advanced, what direction it's moving, and so forth. State police had towers on 16, I think, around the state, and one of them, we call them squawk boxes, little speakers up on the wall behind us, or behind my desk, and I think there was 3 state police posts that we could listen to all the time. And one came on and said that Brandenburg had been destroyed almost. They could not get in because of debris on the roads. We were hearing reports of severe damage. And so we'd been tracking it, and it was coming right for Louisville, so we issued a warning for Louisville, which happened to be about 18 minutes before it hit. But what saved the day, a lot of people, the MIC then, John Burke, was on the phone with WHS radio and looking out the window to the west from the terminal building over there. He said, "See it, hear it, good gracious alive, I'm gone." And he slammed the phone down. So if you're listening to the #1 radio station in town and you hear the chief of the weather office hang up, so that a lot of people went to the basement or whatever, yes. Well, when I walk inside here, I'm totally lost. I mean, I see a bunch of TV screens instead of paper maps hanging on the wall. Stuff I say, "What's that?" And they say, "Well, that's a moisture field or whatever." And we didn't have all that, none of that. I've tried to keep up. The last 2 or 3 years I've given up, but it's passed me by a long time ago. But I would come out and visit occasionally and try to keep up with it, but it's passed me by, really.
Hi, my name's Joe Ammerman, and I worked at the National Weather Service office in Louisville, Kentucky from 1976 until 2010. When I began, the Weather Service was located in the upper floor of Lee Terminal at Stanford Field. The office consisted of a room for the aviation and lead forecaster. There was a communications room which had 6 teletype machines. There was an observation room and observation platform outside. There was a World War II era weather radar that had been used to help put out warnings in the tornado outbreak of 1974. And new to the office was the weather radio system. During my career, we had many tornado outbreaks, flooding events, severe weather events, cold weather events. The 2 that stuck out were in the winter of 1994, when we had 18 inches of snow followed by record cold, with a record low reported at Louisville of minus 22 degrees. This completely shut down the city for a number of weeks. The other event occurred in 1997, March the 1st and March the 2nd, when we had widespread severe flooding across all of Kentucky, which inundated many rivers, including the Ohio River. My retirement took place in 2010, and I cannot think of a better way to have spent my career. Thanks so much.
I guess my most memorable day at the Weather Service was the day of the Henryville tornado. We knew it was going to be a bad day. We were under a high risk. So we had a full staff that day. I was assigned working to Tom Ray on the radar. I was just going to there to help him out. We took the southern storms. Mark Jarvis took the northern storms. Well, we saw the first supercell show up pretty quickly, and within a scan or two, we could see an obvious tornado signature. Then Mark issued the warning for Washington County. At that same time, my wife was teaching at Pekin Elementary School. So I was texting her, telling her what was going on, and I could tell by looking at the radar that the tornado was going to miss the school proper, but they were definitely going to get some bad weather. Now, when your wife is married to a meteorologist, whether she wants to or not, she's going to be trained as a spotter. And Rosie actually saw the 1974 F4 Borden tornado, so she is a pretty good spotter. So even though her principal told her to take cover, Rosie felt like it was her duty to go outside and look at this thing. Well, what she saw, she called and told me. She said, "I see small funnels inside of a big one." Well, once she said that, we realized that we were dealing with a multi-vortex tornado. Up to this point in time, we had great radar signature, but no ground truth. So Rosie was the first one to confirm that we had indeed a pretty massive tornado on our hands. I saw this thing headed for Henryville, and at that point, Mark decided that he was going to issue our first tornado emergency. That was a fairly new product, and this is the first time we used it. At the same time, there was a second supercell that formed a little bit south of the first one. It didn't have quite as good a signature as far as tornado was concerned, but it had great hail signature. So I was texting Rosie, telling him to keep sheltering because the second supercell was going to hit him and probably was going to bring large hail. Sure enough, it dropped baseball-sized hail on the school and on her car, of course, in the parking lot. But she told me that everybody was okay, and I was happy to hear that. It was interesting that day. There were two schools in the path of that tornado, one in Pekin, one in Henryville. Pekin decided to hold their kids. Henryville decided to release their kids. And it turned out that both those decisions were correct. But I'll never forget that day.
Hey everyone, this is Chris Smallcombe. I was a lead forecaster at the NWS in Louisville until 2007, and ever since then basically have been out here in Reno, Nevada, and we're enjoying our 5th season out here right now. It's called Smoke Season. It's a new thing. Definitely the last couple of years we've been experiencing this, so definitely kind of puts the kibosh on all the mountain and outdoor activities, at least temporarily. So when I was back at Louisville, a couple memories come to mind that I look back somewhat fondly on. Is one of the outbreaks of Diet Coke cans being left in the freezer during busy weather days, and then we'd go into the kitchen to get a bite to eat after everything calmed down, and open up the freezer, and I think you can imagine the result of that. So and then in terms of an actual weather event, I'm thinking back to the big winter storm that we had just before Christmas in 2004. That was where we had feet of snow in southern Indiana, paralyzed the entire region. We had tons of sleet in the Louisville area, inches of it, which is pretty rare for sleet. But I remember working the midnight shift during the height of the storm, and we were actually getting thunder sleet. There was lightning going on as the sleet was coming down in buckets. Never had heard that before, never had seen it before. We all heard thunderstorms, of course, thunder snow even, but thunder sleet, that was a totally new one to me and something I have not experienced yet again to this day. So it's definitely struck in my mind. And of course, that morning was a giant pain to get the car home. Didn't have four-wheel drive or anything like that. So, and there's ash coming down right now. That's lovely. So anyway, hope everyone is doing well, and take care.
My name is Joe Sullivan, and I was the warning coordination meteorologist at the National Weather Service office in Louisville between 2007 and 2020 when I retired. And that was after having spent the first 20 years of my professional career west of the Mississippi in 6 different states. I can honestly say that every location that I've ever worked has had some significant weather, big events that I've gone through whenever I was there, ranging from the floods in Iowa in 1993 to the never-ending fire weather season when I was in Wyoming in 2002. But it wasn't until I got to the Ohio Valley that I seemed to take punch after punch, just like everyone else here did, for year after year after year. In fact, going back during that time period, we had the Hurricane Ike blow down in 2008, and then that was followed just a few months later by the ice storm in 2009. And then 2010, the big Derby weekend flooding that flooded central and southern Kentucky. That's the same weekend that Nashville flooded with Grand Ole Opry. Then in 2011, we had over 70 tornadoes, just an incredible amount, not only in Kentucky, but in the Louisville warning area, including 10 counties in southern Indiana. And then the capper in 2012, March 2nd, the Henryville tornado, the EF4 tornado that was the biggest of my personal Weather Service career. And I can remember saying right after the Henryville tornado, it's like, why would anybody want to live in this area? It's just one disaster after another. And fortunately, Mother Nature must have heard us because she gave us a break. And not just those of us in the Weather Service, but also the media, the public safety, emergency management, all of our great partners who I had the privilege of working with, we got a breather after that. And I can't say enough for our partners, especially our emergency management, who work to keep their neighbors safe with little recognition and little appreciation day and night, 24/7. And they are the true unsung heroes of safety. And I know that even though I'm gone, the Weather Service here is going to continue to do a great job because we have a great staff there. It's the best staff of any of the offices I worked in, but also because we have great partners, the media, the public safety, the private sector, everybody pulling together to keep their neighbors safe. So congratulations, National Weather Service Louisville, on 150 years. Here's to another 150 more.